Loktargar friends, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And today is Max Effort Squat and Deadlift Day. So, our squat variation today, safety bar band box squats for a max. And as far as I've gone with accommodating resistance, this is my heaviest safety bar box squat I've done, but we track them separately. Like I track the blue band separately from the chains, even though I did 20 more pounds today than I did with the chains last time, like 3 weeks ago. We don't repeat any of these variations more than once every 6 to 7 weeks. And sometimes you can space them further apart and you want a PR each time. So I track each one of these lifts separate. But what people need to remember, and this is the take-home point when it comes to some of these accommodating resistance lifts and the box squats and everything else, this doesn't mean I neglect my conventional lifts. And that's a big difference between this and the way some people train this sort of system. I still come in back squat. I still come in deadlift. I still pause bench every single week, for at least 3 singles so that you get specificity of training for raw lifting. And there's a lot of discussion about why these different variations are used, and it's almost its own set of videos. I don't want to cover it all again today. But today we ramped up to 355 plus the bands. And it's hard to say how much tension I'm getting at the top out of the bands. Maybe 40, 50 pounds, who knows? 50 pounds-ish. That's where I'd estimate it. Not that important right now. I could eventually measure it. But what I am going to say, man, it's daunting when you get into these safety bar squats. I don't like safety bar. I hate safety bar. I hate it. But I need it. It addresses one of my biggest weak points in the squat, and that's my thoracic strength. But I did, man. When I was doing it, it was really daunting. When I first started ramping it up, it's kind of like I felt Prince Malchazar in my head. And it's like, madness has brought you here to me. I shall be your undoing. Your greed, your foolishness has brought you to this end. But then I got my PR, and I'm like, okay, good, all good. That's how I felt, though, like when I was first ramping up, It's like, man, I really don't want to do these once I started getting under it, because just that pressure I get in my T-spine. But honestly, the max there wasn't that difficult. When I finally got around to it, it's like, it wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all. And I was happy with it. So I marked it. Right, and next time I do it, we'll see if we can get 10 pounds more. Next time I come around and do this lift in 6 or 7 weeks again. And I think next time I'm going to just do band on a box squat next week with a normal bar. And then we'll rotate through and maybe try both of them without accommodating resistance, right? The 405 on a back squat felt easy. It felt really easy. So I went ahead and bumped it 5 pounds for my back off work. And I did 435 for 3 quick singles, just trying to maintain good form. The first one felt really awkward, just because I haven't done a back squat in 2 weeks. I did deload last week on max effort days, and so I've gotten a little bit out of my groove doing back squats. So it felt slightly awkward, but it looked better on camera than it felt. And all I'm trying to do on these is maintain decent form. I'm trying to hit depth, and I'm trying to focus on driving my T-spine up, so that I don't have it round. Like I'm putting all of my focus into that. That's one reason I'm having to stay sub-maximal on these and not go for an all-out max, because it's technique work, and I'm trying to literally concentrate with all of my might on not letting that upper back round. Like some people are like, well, what are you thinking about while you do these? Literally, that is all that's going through my head, is straightening my T-spine, particularly on the top half of the lift. And it's just my squat form and everything else. So, that's literally the only thing I'm thinking about. And everything else is just reflex at that point. I'm not actually even thinking about going down. Like I'm just bending my knees and dropping down. Like I'm not even thinking about squatting. Like I almost forget that I'm doing a squat, because literally all I'm concentrating on is that T-spine. And even then it's not perfect. But it's just because that's where my weakness is. And so that's where I'm having to put my focus until I get that sorted. And I'm not worried about hitting a max on back squats. People are like, when are you going to max again on the big 3? I don't need to. I'm maxing on 3 other lifts pretty much every week, or 2 other lifts. These I'm just doing heavy technique work, trying to do some reps above 90%. And eventually that's the thing. I will eventually get even the back squat to where I'm hitting 500 every week on it without it being a max. And I don't have to hit maxes until I'm ready to go to a meet. I'm not that worried about it. We're maintaining the technique, and we're getting bigger and stronger. Deadlifts felt good today. First single though, after I ramped up. I'm skipping the ramp ups because these videos get so long as it is. We don't even need the warm ups anymore. Because even this is going to be my shortest workout of the week, and it's 12 minutes with just the work sets. So the first one felt a little off, and then I got into my groove, and the second and third one felt really good. They felt really good. Again, I probably want to start adding in a little more grip work soon, or more deadlifting. One of the things I'm thinking about, I want to do more deadlifting through the week, but I've got to reduce my axial loading to get away with that, right? So that's why I'm doing more stuff where I'm saying, okay, less of the standing exercises that are not a squat and a deadlift. And some people would say, well, isn't that contrary to a lot of what you preach out for novices? I'm at a point to where my squatting and deadlifting volume could start to get pretty atrocious at a certain point. And I don't have recovery for other stuff. So I've got to be thinking more in terms of what's just going to build the movement patterns and muscles without axial loading. So you guys are going to see me do very, very little standing exercises anymore that aren't squats and deadlifts. And that's just what I need to do for a while. And up next, this is something I kind of invented. I'm sure other people have come up with the same concept, but I'm like, okay, I don't want to lose rowing motions, but my back is well developed. I'm not worried about my lat development. I can not row or chin up for months and keep a massive back and go back to them, and they just go right back. But I need to do something that's going to build the isometric strength I want for my benching. So I'm like, what would be the best way to row that would carry over to my benching that's not going to interfere with my deadlifting? I love pin lay rows. Right now, if I want to keep increasing deadlift volume, I'm going to need to cut them back out. But I want something that's going to carry over to my bench press. Well, I'm like, let me just get on a bench press and do reverse bands. And eventually they could get heavy enough to where my body weight's going to be a problem. But if you dig in tight like you do on a bench, it pulls you into the bench anyways, right? And if I do high reps, so I just started with 3 sets of 20. I picked a weight that gave me a nice cramp in my back. And I'm just focusing on scapular retraction and doing the exact opposite movement of a bench press. Now, I understand this is going to cause all my trolls to just rage and rage and rage, and that's fine. I like antagonizing my trolls. That's one of the things I'm actually enjoying with these training clips and what I'm doing these days is the amount of just of those who are on the spectrum who hate me. Like they just flip shit. Oh my God, he left his deadlift socks on, and they freak out about it, right? It's comical. It's actually fun to watch. I like antagonizing them. And then they want to talk about it everywhere. It's like, okay, cool. Awesome. I'm glad I'm upsetting you guys. It's actually amusing to me. So over to the point, this is going to cause people to rage. But what it is, it's just a reverse bench. I mean, if we want to talk about a reverse bench, wouldn't this be a reverse bench? It really is. It's band tension, and then what do we focus on? More of the tension is obviously at the bottom where the bands are stretched. Scapular retraction, where you need your scapula tight on the bench. All right, this will have good carryover to all your stability and stabilizers on a bench press while still working the rear delts, mid traps, lats. And it helps you get more practice setting up on your bench press. So if we want a bench specific rowing exercise, and because I'm bench specializing right now, am I not? I mean, we're obviously improving squat and deadlift, but the bench is getting a higher priority in my training. Well, this variation of the row is the best thing I can possibly think of. That if you wanted a rowing motion that's going to carry over to the bench press with the most possible carryover and specificity of training, this is it, because I'm gripping the bar like my bench. I'm arching like on my bench. I'm set on my bench, and I'm just pulling down the same way you would on the eccentric. I'm replicating the eccentric on a bench press. Here's the point we come to with anything. It's not a stupid idea if it works. And at first glance, this is exactly the sort of exercise that I might laugh at, a lot of us might laugh at, but it's actually fitting a role in my specific training. Would I recommend all of you do this? Not necessarily, no. Probably not. A lot of people don't grow their back as easy as I do. My back is massive. It's not a problem for me. My bench press is a weak link. I also want to be able to do more axial loading exercises. So I've got to be able to work my lats, my quads, everything else without loading my spine up. This is the other reason I'm doing these belt squats. And I did 3 sets of these today, and I added another plate today. So we're increasing weight on this. 3 sets of 10 on this was all I could handle. It's like, man, here's what I'm going to say on this. My quads were the most pumped and lit they have been in a very, very, very long time. And this is exactly what we want. You know, people say they want to do stuff like lunges. This actually came up in my comments earlier today. Any benefit you could possibly think of from a lunge, you would get from this. People say, why? Because you're loading the leg out to the side. You're getting that same sort of effect you would want for pivoting or whatever on a single leg exercise. But we know based on the research that bilateral exercises actually carry over better to sports than single leg exercises. So single leg exercises are kind of dumb. Why does anyone do them then? To reduce load on the spine. Well, this has no load on the spine. In fact, you're in traction. This gives you that effect. But you're also doing this in a movement pattern that will carry over to a wider stance squat. So not only is it an accessory movement that will allow you to hit your quads with an enormous amount of training volume, that's relatively easy to recover from because the spine is in traction, not compressed. The whole lower body moves in the exact pattern of a squat. In fact, I got the heads up on this the other day. He came posted on my private Facebook because I have a bunch of coaches on there. Chris Duffin saw a picture of this and he's like, this is actually the best way to do this. This is better than those machines. His opinion. But, I mean, someone like Chris Duffin, let's take that. How much is his opinion worth? A whole hell of a lot. I mean, would you place his opinion equal to or above the average strength coach? I would say it's above. He coaches a lot of world-level strength athletes. He himself is a world-level powerlifter, strength coach, has some legitimate experts and PhDs on his team, his coaching team. Guy runs an extremely successful coaching business. You know, when he makes a statement, I'm not going to take it lightly. You better take it seriously. You don't have to agree with it, but you better listen. He loved this. He liked it. It's like, this is the correct way to do it. All right. So someone with those sort of bona fides kind of gave the heads up on my accessory movement, the way I'm doing it, the variation I'm using. I'm doing it just this way with plates on the boxes. I think we've got a winner. And you talk about quad activation. Jesus Christ. Like, try it. Just actually do these like a squat. Get in there and do them, guys, and come back and tell me it's not hitting your quads. And think about the carryover to something like a sumo deadlift and a wide stance squat. All right? We've got a winner here. This is going to be a mainstay for me for a while. And reduces load on my spine so I can do more deadlifting if I need to, win all the way around. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.